So a series of diplomatic events will take place starting today in Gyeongju on the sidelines of APEC leaders meeting. For more on this, we're joined today by Mason Richey, professor of international politics at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Professor Richey, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Donald Trump are set to meet this afternoon. Do you expect them to make any meaningful progress on trade issues?
Well, it certainly is the case that apparently relatively significant differences remain in the investment components of the deal that the U.S. is trying to force on South Korea. And so I think that the real question is, in terms of the high stakes here, is whether or not the pressure from Trump, obviously direct pressure on Lee, but also, on the sort of domestic political scene in South Korea, is going to be significant enough to get Lee to buckle and make some concessions that his negotiators on his orders haven't wanted to make yet, or alternately, is the flattery, the scenes of decorum and honor, plus whatever personal rapport Lee has with Trump, is that going to allow Lee to sort of convince Trump maybe to scale down a little bit his ambitions and the things that he's told his negotiators to do? So I think that's a sort of top line. Beyond that, you have a sort of negotiating question, which is what are the fallback positions for the two sides? In political science, we call this a BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And basically, the side that has a better fallback position is generally the one that's going to be better off in the deal. And the U.S. presumably has more leverage and therefore has a better fallback position. But South Korea has been hanging remarkably tough in the negotiations so far on this investment component. And the security and economic connection, of course, also complicates the negotiations more. So I don't think we have a real clear answer to what's going to be worked out here in terms of the top line, much less how that ends up being worked out in detail in the weeks to follow.
Right, we'll have to see how that goes. And Trump also said he wants to meet Kim Jong-un and even suggested the idea of adjusting sanctions against the regime. But instead of responding to Trump's call, North Korea carried out cruise missile tests and said they carried out these tests this morning. What's your take on this?
Well, Trump really seems to want this meeting. And he's been telegraphing that, for weeks. If not even more in some respects. But Kim just doesn't seem, at least publicly, to have reached out. And both, government and, other inside sources seem to be pretty negative about whether or not this meeting can take place. And of course, Trump is not scheduled to be in Korea for very long. Now, of course, it's always possible that he could pull a rabbit out of the hat at the last moment and go up to the joint security area and have another, very fast, rapid surprise meeting like he had in 2019 when he was in Japan, and the call was quickly made for him to go meet Kim at the JSA. After the failure of the Hanoi summit. So something like that could happen. I think the teams here in Korea have been gaming out how that would work so they don't get caught flat-footed. But Kim doesn't seem to be interested right now for whatever reason. And the missile launches that have taken place recently, seem to sort of underscore that in some respect. So I don't anticipate it being the case. And even if it were the case, it would be clearly symbolic at this point rather than anything substantive, since there hasn't been any actual working or even senior level negotiations that could have put something in place. So this would just be a photo op meet and greet, which is not by itself necessarily a bad thing, but certainly wouldn't produce anything substantive.
I see. And while that's happening, a lot of attention is also on the Trump-Xi summit that's expected to take place in Busan. How do you think the meeting is going to play out? Can we expect the two sides to reach an agreement on trade? And will they also discuss security issues while they're meeting in Busan?
Yeah, so the Trump-Xi meeting is really getting, from an international perspective, a huge amount of attention. In fact, I was just in China, and as you can imagine, there, the discussion, around all of the summitry taking place in Korea this week was focused much more on Trump and Xi than it was on the actual multilateral meeting at APEC, or the business leaders meeting, or the Li-Xi meeting even. This is obviously where a huge amount of attention is because it has such global ramifications. Honestly, I don't expect, from what we can see, that we're going to see a breakthrough in U.S.-China relations. Both positions are really hardened. I think that China, really thinks that it has a lot of leverage, notably, of course, with its rare earths export controls. Its sort of version of the U.S. foreign direct product rule that it's using for rare earths and rare earth components and technologies. Trump has repeatedly said, of course, that the United States has better cards to play in their negotiating. So both sides, I think, are hardened. I think, obviously, for the cameras, we're going to see some type of, statement, certainly at least from Trump, sort of talking his position that, the meeting that he's had with Xi, based on the personal rapport that only he has with Xi, will produce some positive benefits and will put a floor on the relationship. But I think, going forward strategically, none of the underlying economic rivalry between the U.S. and China is going to be solved. And then in addition to that, you have a whole set of security issues, which may or may not be in any significant way evoked. But I'm sure that we'll get some statements from both sides on stability in the region and that sort of thing. But I don't anticipate anything significant that's really going to dial down the temperature strategically over the medium term between Washington and Beijing.
I see. We'll have to see how that meeting plays out. All right, Professor Richey, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for having me.